I was someone who steadily grew. And that can feel in this day and age of things moving so fast and people posturing online, it can make you feel like you're behind or you're doing something wrong because you're not doubling year over year over year over year over year. And it's like, okay, there is no business that just keeps doubling, tripling year over year over year and doesn't end up at a stall point. They might have that for sure. So I just want you to hear me on this, that it is not worth it to do all of these things to try to scale and grow faster at the expense of your health, of your nervous system, of sacrificing your peace. It is not a plan, it is a trap. Attention, all introverts, empaths, people who are burnt out from this like 24/7 go, go, go advice, and you want an easier way to be able to stack some cash with your own personality that you don't identify as being someone who's conventionally set up to have wild success online or be this power entrepreneur. It's like, you're talented at what you do and you can help people, but you don't want to have to play the same game that you see other people playing. In fact, it looks exhausting to you. It even looks boring. It doesn't look fun. And then it makes you not want to do it and not show up and not follow through, because the last thing you want to do is trade your time and your energy and your joy in order to have success. And guess what? You do not have to. I started a revolution. I just started it with myself because in my first business, it's now an 8-figure business, I built that the hustle way, the grinding way, the burnout way, because I didn't know any other way. That's what I was programmed to do, that you have to self-sacrifice in order to have success. And if you want to have more success and make more money, you've got to work more. And it's just what it is. And you have to do what all the people who aren't successful aren't willing to do. And guess what? It is not sustainable unless you're someone who just happens to be wired in this hard driving, hard charging, masculine dominant energy with where you can just keep going like an energizer bunny. And that is not how I'm wired. If you're listening to this show and you're a fellow crazy, my guess is you're not wired this way either. So I'm going to share with you my 5 unconventional secrets of being a type C entrepreneur, and you can then apply them to your own life and watch that cash flow grow, baby. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? It's your host, Tiffany Carter, and this is the show that is going to help you grow your business, your bank account, that big, beautiful brain of yours, your abundance, your relationships, and everything in between. Yes, my voice still sounds like crap. And now we have escalated to antibiotics, and this is a sinus infection. So that's fun. I sound a lot worse than I feel, but I am very open to any and all suggestions to relieve the sinus pressure that I have going on, where my head looks and feels like a giant balloon. So just let me know. You can DM me on Instagram at ProjectME with Tiffany. I am thrilled to be doing this episode. It's long overdue, and I have so many tricks of the trade. I have so many secrets, and it's not like I gatekeep them. I forget how valuable they are because I've been living them for so long. And I can sometimes forget that, oh my God, if I had some of these secrets, if I had this like type C playbook early on and I knew it would work, I'd have to believe the person to know it would work, because I was so stuck in the belief that you had to sacrifice yourself. You had to grind yourself to the bone in order to have the success. I would not have been able to comprehend that you get to create a business that works with your personality, that works with your energy level, that works with your lifestyle, that not only like works with it, but complements it and enhances it. And in fact, it's necessary you do that, because if you are working against it by creating something that doesn't work, if you're into human design, I'm a projector. If it is not working with that human design element of yours, your natural makeup, the things that you like doing. For example, I loathe networking. Like traditional networking events give me a rash. I do not like small talk. Now, I love running into you guys when I'm speaking at events, even on the streets, on the streets over here. I love that. That's a different story because you're my people. But, when you go to those events or those mixers and everyone just has an agenda, and I got to tell you, in the coaching world, there's a lot of skivvy stuff that happens even when you see people who have masterminds or they have these like big events. All they end up being is, what can you do for me events? And people are posturing, people are saying, oh, how can I get on this person's podcast? How can I get in front of this person's audience? What can I get from this person? Because that is what a lot of networking is. And it is so gross to me and so exhausting to me. And therefore, I knew that when I started my first business, which is my 8-figure digital marketing agency that specializes in the health, supplement, medical, and pharmaceutical sector, that I could not be dependent on getting clients and cash by having to go to tons of conferences and networking events. Now, did I go to tons of conferences and networking events in the beginning? I certainly did, because that was also part of that business, but that wasn't how I actually got clients. I didn't have to. It was like an over the top add on thing to do. And it was also just a smart thing to do. But when I started this podcast and Project with Tiffany Carter, the Business Coaching Academy, zero desire. I didn't want to go to a conference. I didn't want to have to go to a breakfast event. I didn't want to have to join some kind of a club. I didn't want to have to do any of that. I wanted to be able to create something online where the people would come to me, the buyers come to me. I am not having to go after and work angles and have a gazillion different sales conversations in order to get numbers. Now, some of you listening might get off on that. Like my extroverts, you might delight in doing things like that. I don't even host dinner parties, for example, at my house. Well, one, if you're familiar with me, you know I don't cook and I don't enjoy cooking. End of story. I do enjoy a very nice kitchen, and I have 2 of them that I film content in and make coffee in, and the occasional salad. But I'm not someone who does this sort of thing in my personal life. And I have a lot of clients who do delight in having some form of networking and going to in-person events. And that's okay. Reason why I'm going off on this tangent is I'm wanting you to know that we create a business model that complements your personality, the things that give you energy back and not drain you. Are there going to be draining things that you're going to have to do in any business model? Obviously, and taxes are one of them. Reading contracts, the adulting things. I don't think anyone really gets off on doing that stuff. So, yes, there will be times you have to do the mundane, the kind of draining stuff, but we want to make sure we heavily stack the other side, that you're doing a majority of the things that lift you up, that bring you energy, that propel you forward. And when looking at things that are feeling heavier or harder for you, then we need to massage them and make them fun and make them more enjoyable for you. And there is always a way to do that. And that is why I say you want to hire a type C. You want to hire a lazy business coach, because I've already found the easier way. And all these other ways I've tried that I wanted to see if they were easier, that didn't work. We don't want to do shortcuts. Shortcuts just shortchange you when it comes to results. That's not what I'm about. But is there a simplified way to be able to get to where you want to go? Without a doubt. And I've tried them because I stretched myself. And this is secret number 1. I stretched myself into coming up with unique ways because I was so unavailable for the ways things were currently done. I was not available, going back to this example of networking. That didn't feel good to me. I didn't want to do it. Then it wasn't going to be worth it, me having this business model. So I said, okay, we are going to set it up to where I'm not sliding into people's DMs. We're not buying people's email lists and blasting cold emails. All of that sounds manipulative, gross, salesy to me. Didn't want to do it. But you do need to have an actual system of attracting ideal clients to you and converting them on repeat. Otherwise, you don't have a business for any type of business in any industry. So I said, okay, what would feel good to me is to be able to have the people come to me. I attract them with my content. I create the genuine high quality bait that you guys want and then can't get enough of. And then you're in my universe and you can't help but buy from me. Not one of you can ever say that I've slid in to a private message or I've picked up the phone and cold called you. No one can say that. And if you're like, hey, I've gotten private messages from Tiffany, well, it's not me. It's one of the hundreds of spam accounts pretending to be me. So that first secret is anything that you start telling yourself you feel you're going to have to do to get clients and cash in your business. And some of the things are true where you're like, okay, I am going to have to do that. Ask yourself, all right, let's look at what could be a way that would feel better to me. What's a way we could go about this that would feel easier, that would feel more fun, that would be a better match with my personality? And if you don't know the answer, then the answer is you need to hire someone like me and work with someone like me so that we can customize it for you. That's when I tell people, if you've already been or you are in like my ProjectME Posse business coaching membership, which summer enrollment is open right now for new members, that's where you get weekly live trainings from me and other special guest experts. And you get the support from genuine fellow crazy entrepreneurs where there's no bullshit, there's no masking. We talk about all the things in there. We have a great time. This is where you get access to my courses that I have, my live experiences, my master classes, everything is in there. And you're all pooling your money together, which is $3.33 a day, in order to get tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars of live coaching. So you can go to projectmewithttiffany.com/projectme posse. Everything that I'm mentioning here in today's show for resources, you can swipe up inside the show notes. The links are there and in the description on YouTube at ProjectMe TV. There's several links that aren't in my link in bio on social media. So don't go, oh, I'll just go to her, link in bio. No, I don't put everything there for a reason. The other thing I don't put in there are when my applications are open for my exclusive 2-month private business coaching program, which they are right now, but they will be closing soon. And I am not taking private clients on for quite a while. So I'm giving you that clear warning. If you're at a point where you're wanting complete customization of some of the things that we're talking about today, and you want to actually have a system that works in your business that feels good so that you can be making the money and working part-time in your business. And I don't mean that you're not doing shit. What I mean is you shouldn't be working 40, 50, 60 hours in your business unless you're doing some kind of like a product or a tech startup, because that's part of that game. But in most business models, you should absolutely be able to work less and make more. That is the only way it's going to be not only scalable for you, but sustainable. Because if it feels hard for you and you feel like you're slogging away, then you're just going to repel any of the abundance, any of the opportunities coming your way, and you're robbing yourself of all of your creative bandwidth because it's feeling so heavy and hard, because you have this attached belief that in order for it to be successful, in order for you to make a lot of money, it has to be hard, because so many of us have been conditioned to believe that, almost like there's guilt around it being easy. Like it can't possibly be easy. I can't trust it if it's easy. Well, none of this is fucking easy. Being an entrepreneur isn't easy. It's like mentally the most mind fuckery you'll ever experience. Being able to make money online, that's not easy. You have to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to be misunderstood. You have to be vulnerable. You have to deal with all of your mental stuff that comes up. You have to be willing to show up every day, regardless of how you're feeling. I mean, I'm on here podcasting with a sinus infection with a lot of medication in me, you know? And it's like, I don't necessarily want to be podcasting right now, even though I love you guys and I'm excited about this episode, but I show up regardless. Now, if I was so sick that it would have been self-abandoning for me to show up, then obviously I wouldn't do that. But you need to have customization in your business at a certain point, or you're only going to be able to get so far. And if you are at that sticking point, or you want to be able to scale and get to where you want to get much faster and that direct route without losing your mind, I would absolutely apply for my 2-month private business coaching program. I coach both new entrepreneurs and established entrepreneurs, but you both use the same application to keep it simple. The application is inside the show notes, is also inside the description on YouTube. That is the only way to get it unless you DM me on Instagram at ProjectME with Tiffany. So make a move. I only take 4 private clients at a time, and 2 of the slots are already taken. So now you know where you're at. I just want you to be able to make a move instead of sitting there and spinning on yourself. And now you're fucking around trying this thing and fucking around trying that thing and trying to figure out what it is you're supposed to do. And then this feels hard. And then you procrastinate and then you freeze. And then you tell yourself that you're confused. You're not confused. You have brain fog because you're exhausted and because you're in fear and everything's messing with you because you're trying to do it on your own. You can keep staying in there, but then you're going to miss out on this upcoming peak primetime money making season online. And then you're going to be really mad at yourself. I'm going to be over here cashing in along with my clients, and I would like for you to be cashing in along with us. Okay. The second secret. Okay. I am strategic about my energy, not just my time. So I might have the time, which I quite frankly do have a lot of free time. Number one, I do not have children. And those of you listening, which there was a lot of you of kids, I know sometimes you can see someone like me and go, well, Tiffany has time to do this, that, and the other because she doesn't have kids. Then we use the kid thing as an excuse. We all have different things. And I'm not taking away from the extreme amount of time and energy it takes having kids. But I have another business, remember, that I run. And on top of that, I have complex PTSD. So that is something that I have to manage every single day of my life. And it takes a chunk of time out of my day to manage that, to be able to show up in how I show up in the world. And so I have other things that end up taking my time and take my energy. But I do have a lot of free time because I've set my businesses up in that way. But what is more precious to me is energy, because there's nothing worse than when you have a lot of actual time, but you're depleted. You're energetically bankrupt. And anyone who has experienced true burnout, like when my adrenals burnt out, like they literally were so burnt out, I had to carry rescue cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. You need cortisol in order to maintain life, or you go into cardiac arrest. And I was that fried where I had to take a shower while sitting down. I couldn't even stand up. And I had all the time in the world, but there's no quality of life. And that is terrible. So we have to be very mindful of our energy. I don't say yes to every opportunity. I don't even get into a high desired manifesting state around all the things. I am multi-passionate too. There's a lot of things I want to do. Oh, that looks fun to do. Oh, I want to go speak here, or I would love to do that, and I would love to do that. But I have to really assess and go, is that going to energize me, or is that going to drain and deplete me? And I ask myself that for everything that we do. And if the answer on some things is, well, that's probably going to drain me, then I go, okay, then we need to look at what ratio I have going on of other draining activities, personally and professionally. Do I have a stack of draining activities going on? Okay, we've got to then really manage this and make sure we have energy giving activities in there and rest and restoration in there. Otherwise, we're going to end up in a big red flag danger zone. So I am managing those energy levels constantly. I am doing a daily inventory and checking in with my body. And I actually talk to my body and ask how it's feeling. Now, I'm aware that I'm saying this as I'm sick. When we get sick, it's our body saying, period, you weren't listening to me. We need a rest. The system got overloaded and we need rest. And I got so wound up about a couple things that have been going on in my life behind the scenes that aren't necessary for me to share publicly. And they were very triggering to me. And I got on a loop and I was doing the best I could with my coach, with my therapist, and getting myself out of it. But I put myself in such an episode of stress that my system broke. And I knew when I got sick, I went, I know how this happened. And sometimes we need to have these things happen. I needed to have that burnout occur that first time, even though it was miserable and I almost died, to wake me up so I would never put myself in that position again. I probably needed to get sick, and thankfully I'm not that sick, this time to go, okay, Tiff, we've got some work to do here on how activated you can get around these certain situations and these certain people. And we need to do some clearing and some work around it, because look at what it does to your nervous system and your health. And that's not worth it. It's something that wakes us up. But I really want you being focused about your energy even more so than time. Yes, we can never get our time back. That's true. But idle time when you're a zombie rotting on the couch, that's not true quality time. That's just wasting time. And I don't want that for anybody. And it's not a good feeling. Okay, next one. I would rather be underestimated than overexposed. I know a lot of you, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm pretty right with this, are attracted to my way of teaching because of my raw honesty, my transparency, but I think also because I am not the shiniest, loudest, it girl, popular girl online, in the room, on the scene. I'm sitting here recording this. I'm wearing my pajamas. I don't remember the last time I washed my hair. This is not the most flattering imagery or lighting of me right now. I mean, I know most of you are actually listening and not watching, but I mean, if you want a visual of this hotness over here, you can go to ProjectME TV. And you see my videos on social media, you read my emails, you see Tiff's like messy, right? I'm messy, and it gives you permission that you do not have to be poly perfect. You don't have to be a certain size. You don't have to be a certain skin tone. You don't have to have a certain level of education in order for you to be able to make money online, in order to be able to monetize your gifts, skills, passions, and talents and help people. So I would rather people kind of like not really give me that much credit or kind of underestimate me. That's fine. They can do that. Meanwhile, my receipts in my bank account far surpasses. I would feel very, very confident in saying most of these shiny people with the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers and millions of followers, the people who are showing this, that, and the other, and that's okay. That's all right, because I remain relatable to my people. I remain genuine and true to myself. I don't need to posture in order to profit. And I know it can feel like you need to, like you have to put on a mask, you have to look a certain way, talk a certain way, show certain things, have to be more interesting, have to have a lot more going on. And it's not true. It's that you just see a lot of these people out in the world who have that, and you're making that assumption. I'm a shining example of it's not true. Plus, it's way too much work. It's much better to be type C for chill and just we're chilling over here. We're chilling on a lot of cash over here. That is much better than running around making sure you're not missing anything and you're being part of all the things and you're doing this and you're doing that and you're posting 80 times a day. There is a magnetizing, quiet confidence thing when you chill versus operating out of like a hyperactivity. Okay, next one. I obsess over skill building more than trend chasing. So, what I invest in over here are income generating skills. I like learning and improving upon high value skills. Sales psychology, messaging, profitable content. These compound over time. You don't see me investing how to go viral, or I need to know how to make an ebook and the 17-part funnel to do this thing, and I need to learn drop shipping, and I don't chase any of that stuff. There are concrete skills in business that have been proven over decades and decades of time that without a doubt, as you get better and better at them, pay you more and more money. This is why in all of my programs, whether it's coaching with me privately, whether it's a group program, whether it's inside the posse, any of my stuff that I do free or paid, we focus on skill development because that puts you in the empowered position. Me just selling you information, that's not going to do anything. You need to have a skill and be able to know how to implement that information and put that information into process and progress and into work so that it makes money for you. It'd be like teaching someone the stock market, but they're not showing you how to play the market in real time. Who do you think is going to be more successful? Who do you think is going to yield the ROI faster? The person who's just learning the stock market and how it works, or the person who is actually learning the skill of trading in real time and doing real activity with someone who is, has the guardrails and is guiding you. That's the difference of what's going on here. So that's what I invest in for myself. And the other thing I invest in is I want to make it easier. If I want to get to where I want to go, and I want to have that whether it's personally or professionally, and want it to be easier, I'm going to pay someone who I feel I can trust, who I like their style, who I think is going to be fun to work with, that is going to show me how to get there faster and easier. I will pay to get somewhere faster and easier. I will pay for business class. I will pay for first class. I will pay to get on a plane versus taking a train, unless for some reason I want to take that scenic route to get somewhere. But when it comes to making money and being able to enhance my lifestyle and the lifestyle of other people and be able to help as many people as possible, I would rather shave off that time and shave off that energy expenditure by further developing skills and paying to do so. But I just see so many people where they're like afraid to invest in it, or I'm going to have to use a credit card and I'm going to have to go into some, investment debt to do that. Yes, that is true, but it's investment debt. I mean, when you buy a house, unless you're buying a house for cash, that's investment debt, but you're willing to do it because you are investing in a long-term strategy. When you're investing in your business and learning the skills and executing the skills, there's no way it's not going to pay off unless you don't show up and do it. Of course, it's going to pay off. If you're just investing in information or someone to fluff your nuts, I don't know where that came from, but you know what I'm saying. Someone to just like circle talk you and adjust your energy and tell you that you can do it and make you feel good. I'm not saying there isn't some value in having people like that in your life, but that is not going to get you the ROI on something. You do have to put money on the line in order to be able to get somewhere smoother, simpler, and faster. So stop resisting it, okay? All right, next one. My business model is built around my nervous system. So I refuse, hear me on this, to scale in ways that make me resent my business. And I'll get tickled sometimes when I'm starting to get resentful, when I start getting cunty with a K. And I'm like, ooh, what's going on here? What am I doing? I must be overgiving. I must be overgiving and under receiving. There's a ratio off here. What's going on? So I always say, I am a grower, not a shower. I have had sustained growth. I'm not the person who out of the gate, oh my God, I went from 0 to 4 million in 2 years. I mean, and some of these people who say they've done it, I can't vouch for them. I've honestly never coached anyone that has truly done that. So I'm always very sus when people say that they've done that, but I'm not saying they haven't. It's just, I've been an entrepreneur 17 years and I've coached over 150,000 people. The math doesn't math for me, but I digress. I was someone who steadily grew. And that can feel in this day and age of things moving so fast and people posturing online, it can make you feel like you're behind or you're doing something wrong because you're not doubling year over year over year over year over year. And it's like, okay, there is no business that just keeps doubling, tripling year over year over year and doesn't end up at a stall point. They might have that for sure. For sure, even 5 years they can have that. They could even have it for 10 years. Then they hit a stall point, then they hit a decline. You can go look at any business model. This is facts. This has happened to Starbucks as an example. And then there's a slide backwards if you grow too fast. And then you have to kind of steady the ship and then regroup and grow again. So I just want you to hear me on this, that it is not worth it to do all of these things to try to scale and grow faster at the expense of your health, of your nervous system, of sacrificing your peace. It is not a plan, it is a trap. And your ego might convince you, or you might have some other people in your life or a salesperson try to convince you, and it never ends well because you're not going to be able to sustain it. It's going to come at such a big cost. Wouldn't you rather grow slow and steady with consistent, reoccurring, reliable, trustworthy, secure income than you have this frantic growth and then a plummet and then it's all up and down, all chaotic, all over the place? Do you really want that? What comes with that? Or would you rather have like a long haul, beautiful, sustainable, non drama career path? I know that I would rather have that, but sometimes my ego's like, oh my God, look at what she's doing. Maybe you want that. Don't you want that, Tiff? You should be doing more. Why aren't you doing more? You're so behind. You should be able to, you should be able to do more things. And if you did this and if you just worked more hours a day, even if you worked like 2 more hours a day, you could end up doing this. Da, da, da. I mean, there's so many things that of course people will say to me, I can't believe you haven't, published your book. I can't believe you haven't done this. Why aren't you doing this? It's like when people ask me like, why don't I have kids? It's like, why are you so concerned? Like, are you going to execute all these things in my life and in my business? I am pacing things at a pace that provides me peace and profits. That's what I'm interested in over here, not this flashy revenue numbers that a lot of people show. That's why I always show you my receipts. And I have a highlight on my Instagram. If you're like, what is she talking about? It's literally labeled receipts. I show you the net income after taxes, credit card transaction fees, and expenses so that you can see. We want to focus on profits, real money. That's how you stack the cash. And doing that by having great peace. Without peace, what is all this for? Do you really want to sacrifice your health, your peace, your time and energy with your family? And there are some people who are willing to do a grind like that for 5 years, 10 years, and that's a choice. And I respect their choice if that's what they want to do. It's just not my style. I don't measure my success with how busy I am. My worth is not tied to my hours. I measure it by my impact I have on others, my income, and how much true freedom of option and choice that I have built into my days. And I do have to remind myself of that because I compare to, there's people I see, there's always going to be someone richer, prettier, younger, older, thinner, more credentialed, whatever, more visible. And I'll go, gosh, I could be worth 10 times as much if I just did this, this, and this, and if I made this investment and took this risk and all of that. But at what cost? Is that really worth it? And you can have both. You can have the success while making sure you are managing your whole internal mechanism. And in fact, that is the secret to making more and working less. The more you honor yourself versus abandon yourself, the easier it becomes to make money. But you have to believe that that's possible first. I didn't know that that was really going to be true. I looked at it as an experiment, and then I promised myself if this turned out to be a thing and I could really make great lifestyle changing cash by prioritizing my well-being first, I promised myself I would teach it to millions of people. And that's where we're at today. I didn't 100% buy into it because I was so locked in to that old belief system, but I was willing to experiment. So be willing to experiment and see me as an example. You're seeing my stuff because I'm an example of what is available and what is possible for you. I want to end on this last thing. I will take time to really sit and marinate and think about something, not necessarily sitting there obsessing about something out of scarcity, but really feeling it through. But once I make the decision to do it, there's no more bullshit. We just go. We go, we do it messy if necessary. We have fun. We find the simplest way. If the most effective way ends up being a way that's a little harder, then I swallow that pill and we go and we move on and we just go. If I give myself too much rest period of idle time of between when I decide to do something and actually execute it, I will fall into procrastination land. And that's why I always set myself up to make sure that I show up. I pay people on my team, I pay coaches, I make investments so that I am forced to show up because if I don't, I'm wasting my money and I'm wasting their time and I would be embarrassed. And so I set things up in a way where I have to show up and do it. Otherwise, I could very easily not do anything over here. And then that's going to end up not feeling good to me. It might feel good for that day or that week, but ultimately, I know it doesn't feel good to you either to just like spin in place. Like, no, you've got to do something about it and set it up so you have no choice to show up. And it's scary to do that because when people finally come to me to work with me, especially privately, I mean, you can't really hide in any of my programs because we do a really good job of giving them like an intimate experience, like even inside the membership. When you come to me privately, people will typically say, I know with you, I can't hide. I know I'm going to have to show up and do the thing. And I know it's go time. And I go, you're right, it is. And you know that about me. Not to say it's not being done with love and not to say we don't end up having lots of talks and there's moments of spiral and scary stuff. But by the time people come to me and they're applying, you've already been at the stage of enough's enough already. I'm sick and tired of trying to figure this out. This isn't working. This isn't feeling how I want it to feel. And I know I have so many great gifts to share with the world with so many people, and I'm not getting the volume that I want, and it just doesn't feel right. And it's go time. Well, that's your move. Make a move. You can apply by swiping up inside the show notes, and you can go to the description here on YouTube at ProjectME TV. I am now profusely sweating out oregano oil that I'm still taking with this antibiotic, and I can smell myself, which is like a pizza pie. I am baking in the sun here. It is time for me to wrap up this episode. If you loved hearing these rich people best kept secrets, let me know. Take a screenshot of the episode, share it on social media, and tag me at Project Me with Tiffany. I would really appreciate you guys taking even 30 seconds to write a review on Apple Podcasts. That really means a lot and helps the show really grow. Share the show with a friend who you know will appreciate it. On Spotify now, in addition to just tapping the 5 stars, which takes 1 second, you can leave comments, which is so cool, on episodes now. I found out from a couple listeners. So, my Spotify listeners, feel free to comment. You can do it right from your phone. And of course, you can subscribe over here on Project Me TV and comment on any of the episodes over here on YouTube. Wishing you great health, wealth, and worth as always. Love you.